The wind cut like knives as Amelia shoved her way down the cracked sidewalk, clutching her worn coat tight around her. Her shoes, thin-soled and soggy, slapped the pavement with each step, echoing the rhythm of a life caught in relentless hardship. Her grocery bag, half empty because that's all her paycheck allowed this week, swayed against her leg as if taunting her with its lightness. She didn't see the old man at first. He was nearly swallowed by the crowd outside the grocery store, hunched under the weight of two large paper bags. One had already split at the bottom, oranges rolling across the icy ground like runaway suns. People walked past him, stepping over the fruit or around it as if he were invisible. That was something Amelia understood deeply, how pain could become part of the wallpaper of life, how people stopped seeing it after a while. Without thinking, she rushed to the man's side. "Let me help you with that," she said, already scooping up an orange and shoving it into her bag. "You're going to catch your death out here." He blinked up at her. His eyes, though rimmed with age, held a brightness, an alertness that caught her off guard. "Well, aren't you a blessing," he said, his voice rich and smooth, like aged honey. "Didn't think kindness still walked the streets." Amelia chuckled softly as she adjusted his bags, now splitting the weight with him. "It doesn't walk much," she said, "but it limps now and then." They moved slowly, his pace more a shuffle than a walk, but she matched it. As they went, he asked her name, and she learned his, Mr. Ellis. "Do you live nearby?" she asked, adjusting the bag strap on her shoulder. He nodded. "Just 3 blocks down, old brownstone with ivy that won't quit." The walk stretched out longer than it should have. His frailty required patience, but Amelia didn't mind. It was the first time in a long while that someone had asked about her day, her life, even if it came in quiet snippets between breaths and bag shifting. When they reached the house, it stood proud but weary. The brownstone loomed with stories soaked into its bricks. He fumbled with the keys, and she steadied his arm. Inside, the air was warm and carried the scent of old books and time-worn wood. "You've done more than enough," he said, setting the bags down on the counter. "Please, let me make you some tea." She hesitated. She had a pile of resumes to send, a rent bill due in 3 days, and barely enough in her account to cover a bus fare. But something in his eyes made her stay. "Tea sounds good." Over steaming cups and ginger biscuits, they talked. Not about money or hardship, but about books, music, places they dreamed of. She learned he was once a traveling photographer, capturing faces and stories across continents. She spoke of her love for writing, how she once dreamed of becoming a journalist before life turned into a daily war of survival. Before she left, Mr. Ellis pressed a small card into her hand. "You're good people, Amelia. The world needs more of that." She smiled politely, not even looking at it until she got home. It wasn't until she read the name embossed in gold on the card, Ellis P. Langston, founder, Langston Media and Trust, that the air left her lungs. She Googled it. The articles poured in. One of the wealthiest media moguls in the state, now retired after selling his company for hundreds of millions. She stared at the screen, stunned. The man she'd helped was no helpless elder but a giant in disguise. The next morning, a knock rattled her apartment door. Standing there was a sharply dressed woman holding an envelope. "Mr. Langston asked me to deliver this," she said, handing it over with a smile. Inside the envelope was a handwritten letter. "Dear Amelia. In you, I saw someone who still stops when others walk by. That's rarer than gold. I've met thousands of people, many rich in coin but poor in character. You are the opposite. I'd like to offer you a position. Head writer for our new project, Voices from the Street. It's about real stories, real struggles, and the humanity that ties us all together. A starting salary of $90,000 and room for growth. If you're interested, my assistant will be in touch. If not, take this check. Consider it a thank you from an old man you could have ignored but didn't." Attached was a check for $25,000. Amelia stared at the letter, her hands shaking. For the first time in years, she cried, not out of despair but because hope, long dormant, had finally broken through the concrete. She took the job. Weeks later, her words echoed across platforms, her stories touching hearts nationwide. She told stories of struggle and kindness, poverty and perseverance. And she always ended with a reminder. Kindness doesn't always return immediately. But sometimes, when you least expect it, it comes back multiplied, and in the hands of someone who saw you even when the world didn't. Moral of the story: never underestimate the power of a small act of kindness. In a world full of passing faces, being the one who stops can change not only someone else's life, but your own.